We all have 168 hours every week, every single one of us, from Elon Musk all the way down to your delinquent cousin who still lives at grandma's. Time is the great equalizer, and so how we decide to use it is paramount. There's a million influencers and podcasters and books all telling you how to plan your time like a billionaire. There's apps, there's softwares, and there's AIs now claiming to manage your time for you. There's this entire economy of productivity advice that exists out there. But the reality is waking up at 4 a.m. to cold plunge, meditate, journal, sing koombaya, and worship the sun god all before your day even starts is not realistic for the average contractor, which is why a lot of that surface level advice you hear online probably annoys you. And it's also why we made this video, which is 4 time management tips for contractors. Okay, so tip number 1, guys, is just learn to say no. Being a yes man or a yes woman is overrated. And by now, I'm sure that you've realized the demands on your time are literally endless. It's like no matter how efficient, disciplined, how productive you are in any given day or week, you never, ever close your computer and go, well, I got it all done, right? That's not reality. But if you find yourself constantly making promises that you can't keep, or you're putting off your own work to make time for someone else's emergency, or you're working late when you swore that you wouldn't, one of the simplest ways to stop the bleeding, if you will, is just learning to say no, especially to dumb. Our proclivity to say yes comes from a really good place. We want to help our team. We want to serve our customers. We want to have the answers. Many of us suffer from what they call a Superman complex, and I want to honor that. But in my experience, fully 50% of the requests that come my way don't need to be done at all. They're half-baked ideas at best. And the remaining 50% that do, half of those can be delegated to someone else or done later. So if you want to reclaim your time, regain a sense of control, the first step is learning to say no, to set some boundaries and become way more thoughtful about what you agree to. Now, for more on this subject matter, I personally highly recommend a book called The Power of No by Lydia and James Altucher. Totally changed my relationship with the word no. Tip number 2, stop wasting time on employee level tasks. Now, when you started out, you were doing it all: sales, customer service, hiring, training. But as you scale, you need to evolve as a business owner. We all know this. And so developing a heightened sense of what your time and focus is really worth, even measuring it in dollars, is an extremely healthy exercise, in my opinion. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't some ego trip designed to pump your tires about how important you are. It's not that at all. It's really just doing the mental math, doing the mental calculations to understand the opportunity cost of every hour in your day. And this is napkin math, by the way. It's literally your business's last year's net profit divided by 2,000, the standard work year. Now, whatever that number is, if you're currently spending any amount of time at all on tasks where someone can be paid that amount or less, it's like, give your head a shake, right? So what we do is we do a time audit, and here's how. First, you want to make a list of everything that you do for your company between Monday morning and Sunday night. And I'm talking everything: estimating meetings, site visits, collecting checks, doing bank runs, returning emails. The list goes on, and it's going to be quite a big document by the time you're finished. The second step is you have a look at this and you very carefully circle the items on that list that you would consider like high time consumption. In other words, they're kind of laborious, they take a while, but they're also low skill. And for most of you, that sheet that you've put together, roughly 30% of it is probably going to fit into that category. Now, the third step is you want to delegate absolutely everything that you can on this list to the most suitable employees on your team. And if there is still a large chunk left over, and for a lot of you there will be, now you get to build a role and go out and hire that person. As our friend Dan Martell says, buy back your time. Okay, this is super important. And so for a step-by-step walkthrough guide on how to use a time audit to reclaim a minimum of 5 hours a week, check out our quick tool using the link in the description. That's going to help you get started. Tip number 3 is Decentralize Command. Jocko Willink is a best-selling author and keynote speaker for a reason. In Extreme Ownership, he talks about this idea of decentralized command. It's a military leadership philosophy that simply means everybody leads. Everyone in the platoon or company has not only the skills, but even the responsibility of making decisions, of solving problems, driving projects and initiatives forward without involving you. See, the problem is that rolls uphill, right? When you have centralized command, every decision, every issue, every roadblock makes its way back to your desk. And that's a problem, right? Have you ever sat there frustrated beyond belief as an employee drags on about some challenge or obstacle on a job site that, while important to that job or that customer, in a much broader sense is just beneath your pay grade as an owner? And you sit there wanting to scream like, figure it the f out, dude. This is a centralized command problem. You've not trained, equipped, or empowered the people on your team to make independent decisions confidently. And as a result, they all come to you, leaving next to zero time for ownership level stuff. So there's two things that I would advise you do on this front. One, go read chapter 8 of Extreme Ownership. And while you're at it, just read the whole book. Secondly, create a problems budget for every tier of your organizational chart. Let me break this down. What it means is you have a set dollar threshold. For example, maybe you give your foreman a $500 threshold. You'll need to figure out what makes sense for your business and your budget. But let's go with the $500 example. They have $500 where if they need to, they can spend up to that amount to make a customer happy, to make a problem go away, to close out a project and get on to the next one without consulting you in the moment, right? Stop being the visionary with 1,000 helpers, empower your team to make decisions, and claw back some of that much needed brain power and much needed time. Tip number 4, learn how to block schedule. Step 1 to becoming better with your time is defining what's important. Without clearly defined goals, you really have nothing to prioritize against. Block scheduling is a time management system that involves literally blocking time off to work on specific tasks or projects. And it's not just in your head, it's visually blocking it off on a physical or digital calendar. And here's how you get started. Number 1, you start with SMART goals and a strategic plan. If you don't define what's important for your business this year, how can you make intelligent decisions about what goes into your calendar versus what does not? Now, we have a ton of content on goal setting and strategic planning for contractors on this channel. Go start there. Step number 2, on a weekly basis, and I personally think Fridays are best for this, you do a brain dump of all the stuff you need to do in order to keep driving towards the goals laid out in that strategic plan. You want to mark everything. It's going to be a long list. So you want to mark everything as either an A priority, a B priority, or a C priority. Now, for recurring stuff, right? Running payroll, doing reporting, running your team huddle, same time, same day each week. You just create recurring calendar invites. Very, very simple. Step 3, with the list brain dumped out and now categorized, you want to build your next week's calendar, starting with your A priorities, then your B's, then your C's. Look, it may not all fit, and most weeks it probably won't. You push the lower priorities onto the following week. That's the whole point of the exercise. When you're doing this, I want you to make as educated a guess as possible on the time block you'll need and plunk it into the schedule. Be mindful, this is important, of when in the day you have the best mental alertness, the best focus, you're the least distracted. We all have our own circadian rhythm, so pay attention to that and save those windows for the really, really important stuff. Step number 4, go execute. Step number 5, rinse and repeat, guys. Review your previous week and look for learnings. Am I consistently underestimating how long things take? Am I losing focus at certain points of the day? Look, without a rhythm and a ritual to your block scheduling, you become the quintessential chicken with its head cut off. And you might say, but Benji, you don't understand. Stuff comes up in my business that I can't anticipate. There are fires that erupt that I have to put out. Great, go put it out. Just reschedule the thing that you were meant to do as soon as possible. That's the whole point of block scheduling. Okay, guys, we're almost done. I've got 2 bonus pro tips to close. Number 1, go digital. Look, if you really love pen and paper that much, go buy a moleskin journal and write your thoughts and feelings in it every morning so you can scratch that itch of yours. But when it comes to managing your time, if you're not using state-of-the-art tools, you're an idiot. I personally think nothing touches Google Calendar, but people like Outlook too. Second, remove or reduce algorithm-based apps from your phone or use an app blocker like Opal. You will not believe how many hours a week Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, etc. are all stealing from you. So that's it, guys. 4 ways to get better at time management. Look, you've got a big life. Your family, your employees, your customers, your friends, your hobbies, they're all vying for your most finite resource. Time management is a muscle worth building. Trust me. If you want to learn this with the help of a world-class business coach, you can click here to check out Breakthrough Academy. We systemize contracting businesses for growth, and we already work with over 600 contractors just like you.